Hello, I'm Robert Heckler, Program Director for Bay Area Council Fall Camp 2020. It's another one of our online training presentations, and this is going to be covering the COVID policies and procedures. Let me share my screen here for you. The COVID-19 risk management plan for and operating guidelines for Bay Area Council Fall Camp 2020. The leadership of Bay Area Council has the health and safety of all scouts, their families, staff, and general public at its highest priority and concern. This document was created to share with the health department and all of our leaders and council and to everybody about operating our long-term camp, just to let everybody know that, this is what we're going to be doing. This is how we're going to be doing it. It meets or exceeds all of the standards set forth by the CDC, the Department of State Health Services of Texas, and State of Texas executive orders from the governor that were established on May 18th, 2020, and then revised again on July 3rd, 2020. This standard meets and exceeds all of those minimum requirements. The COVID-19 is spread from person to person through contact that is close enough to share droplets generated by coughing, sneezing, speaking, and even just breathing. COVID-19 can also be spread by touching objects where contaminated droplets have landed. Because of this easy manner of transmission, an infant, child, or young person who is infected with COVID-19 can spread the infection to others they come in close contact with, such as members of their household, teachers, other caregivers. We learned that infected persons with mild or even no symptoms can spread COVID-19. It is clear that COVID-19 presents a real risk to our ability to operate camps safely and can have a very serious health consequences. Therefore, this plan assumes that COVID-19 will be present at camps and our very best effort will be necessary to mitigate that risk. The intent to do everything possible to prepare campers, staff, and volunteers and facilities with safety protocols that will protect everybody involved. This plan contemplates opening camp when it's reasonably safe to do so, and we have established that it is reasonably safe to do so. With limited participation, the camp numbers have been reduced and social distancing standard as per the current CDC and Department of State Health Services and local guidelines. Camp will be limited to 230 scouts plus leadership and necessary staff. As such, Bay Area Council adopts this policy, the guidance contained in the Texas DSHS checklist for resident overnight youth camp operators and the provisions contained in the CDC guidance for cleaning and disinfecting and supplements the guidance is specifically noted herein. And in the event that any of those change, the CDC guidelines, DSHS guidelines, or governor's general executive orders change, those will in fact be implemented into the camp procedures and policies. Everybody's cooperation is needed to preserve a safe, clean work environment and safe, healthy camp. We strive to keep our campers, staff, and volunteers healthy and productive in order to continue to serve the mission of scouting. The champions of this guideline is Roger Boyer and the Bay Area Council COVID-19 Risk Assessment Team. Charlie Tinsley, Scout Executive, Joe DeWitt, Camp Director, and Robert Heckler, myself, Program Director, all work collaboratively to put this together to make sure that our scouts are safe. Here's the area table of contents for the document that we're going to be going over. Camp staff training. Camp staff will receive training specifically designed to reduce the potential spread of COVID-19. The training will include how to protect themselves from becoming infected and protecting campers from contracting and spreading COVID-19. The latest guideline from CDC will be incorporated into this training. Those will include, but not limited to, PPE, the use of requirements, hand washing, hand sanitizing, cough and sneeze etiquette, cleaning procedures for program areas, personal space and personal equipment, sanitizing and cleaning. Staff members are expected to clean their quarters, especially if using camp facilities at least daily. Staff management will inspect to ensure that this occurs. Staff members will also be assigned to clean common areas such as staff restrooms, pavilions, et cetera, on a daily basis. PPE will be provided to the staff for cleaning these facilities. If a staff member has had a fever, a cough, or been exposed to anyone with COVID-19, previous 14 days prior to the start of camp. We ask that you notify camp administration, camp staff, and let us know that you will not be attending camp. We do not want to put your safety at risk or anybody else's safety. So please, if that pertains to you, then don't attend camp. 14 days out of camp would be November 6th, 2020. All staff members will be required to sign an acknowledgement of risk and an agreement to follow all health safety protocols while employed for the duration of the camp session. Staff will also be required to get their temperature checked daily. All program staff will be checked by myself, the program director, and or area directors. And they will be logged and kept in the medics lodge, added to the medic log for the day. PPE will include, staff will be provided with personal protective equipment. PPE will include face coverings, eye protection, disposable ponchos, and disposable gloves as needed. Additional training will be provided how to properly remove PPE to reduce the risk of contamination. All staff will be required to wear face masks over the nose and mouth. No neck gaiters and no one-way valves, as studies indicated they're ineffective. Whenever it's not feasible to maintain 6 feet of social distance from another individual. Face masks will only be allowed off when a person in a tent and cabin after work duty is complete, during the meals, and while maintaining a minimum of 6 feet distance from other individuals. Camper and family responsibilities. Youth consent and release form prior to camp. Each scout family will complete an acknowledgement of risk and agreement to follow all health safety protocols while at camp. Those youth consent and release forms will be signed by the scout and the parent or guardian. Also is an agreeing to follow the rules. Each participant will complete a pre-camp questionnaire. Failure to complete the questionnaire or sign the acknowledge of risk and agreement to follow health and safety protocol will result in participant not being admitted into camp. Campers and volunteers agree to abide by all in effect CDC recommendations, including wearing a face covering and maintaining appropriate social distance at all times. Parents agree that if their child develops any symptoms or if discovered that they had exposure with in-person positive COVID-19 in the previous 14 days, the parent or guardian will remove the camper from camp. And then there will be no family visitors during any camp session. If a unit is changing adults during the week, each new adult will need to check in at the office, complete a pre-screening procedure. Official visitors will follow all camp guidelines for COVID-19 risk mitigation. For all campers, please use respiratory etiquette, including covering coughs and sneezes. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. You will be responsible for sanitizing your personal space during the hours you are at camp. Please use your own sanitizing products. It is recommended that you clean your personal space a minimum of 3 times a day, morning, midday, and evening. Our scouts will be in their tracks midday. If scouts go to their campsites or whatever for lunch, after lunch, whatever, they'll obviously need to take some time and clean up their stuff because they'll be putting that into their tents. Check-in screening procedures on day 1 arrival. If a camper has had a fever, a cough, or been exposed to anyone with COVID-19 infection in the previous 14 days, we ask to please stay at home. If any scout or volunteer arrives at camp with a temperature above 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, or advise they have had a fever or cough, or have been exposed to anyone with COVID-19 infection in the previous 14 days, that scout or volunteer will be quarantined as per the protocols herein and will be asked to go home or call a family member to pick them up from camp property. And then leaders should have completed the Scouts commitment to transport plan as a part in the process. Scouts parents have to sign a form that says, hey, if something happens and for this reason they have to leave camp, we will come and pick them up, and we will have something in place to do so. Everyone will receive a temperature check at their medical recheck upon entering camp. This temperature will be logged and kept by the camp medic as record. At the end of the camp, all temperature logs will be kept on permanent file at the council office. Everyone will also turn in the currently required BSA medical health form during their medical check. Appropriate COVID-19 screening questions will be asked to ascertain current health status, recent travel, and possible exposure risks. Once a individual, youth, or adult has checked into camp, they should not plan to leave the property. Readmits to the camp will be on a very limited basis, and units should plan accordingly. Everyone will receive daily temperature check, beginning with their arrival screening. The daily temperature check will be logged by the troop leadership and turned into the medic each morning. Troop leadership will need to adjust morning routine to account for additional time requirements to take temperatures. Appropriate steps will be taken by the camp medic if any scout or volunteer has a temperature of 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. The participants with symptoms of COVID-19 will be temporarily quarantined and sent home. The Bay Area Council Camp Health Policy and Procedure Manual provides relevant guidance, policy, and medical protocols for Camp Cronquo activities. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, increased precautions will be utilized with any scout or adult demonstrating symptoms suggestive of COVID-19, including any fever of 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit or greater. Signs and symptoms include cough, shortness of breath, muscle pain, not associated with recent strenuous activity or exercise, sore throat, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, chills, loss of taste or smell. The following is an excerpt on fever from the CHPPM, page 13. Italics represent additional comments during these COVID-19 times. The most common causes of elevated body temperature are viral or bacterial infections, which can range from benign to potentially serious. Other causes include heat stroke and adverse reactions to drugs. The camper will be quarantined and personal protective measures will continue to be reinforced for the camper and attendant medical personnel. Call the parents, camper must be sent home. While waiting for transportation, continue to monitor the health lodge. Check temperatures every 1 to 2 hours, observe for other signs and symptoms, administer ibuprofen or acetaminophen in age, weight appropriate dosage repeated per guidelines as needed for the fever. If no restrictions are noted on the health form, give patient an abundance of fluid. Despite any reduction in fever for a camper, they will not be allowed to return to join the rest of the attendees and must be transported home. No COVID-19 antigen testing will be done on site. All parents must fill out a commitment to transport that requires their written acceptance that they will provide transportation for their youth, should that youth be identified as someone who needs to be sent home. At-risk individuals, staff, and volunteers. Based on guidance from CDC, those at high risk for severe illness from COVID-19 are people 65 years and older, people who live in nursing home or long-term care facility. People of all ages with underlying medical conditions, particularly if not well controlled, are an increased risk of severe illness from COVID-19. Those medical conditions include cancer, chronic kidney disease, COPD, immunocompromised state, obesity, serious heart conditions such as heart failure, coronary artery disease, or cardiomyopathies, sickle cell disease, and type 2 diabetes mellitus. People of all ages suffering from the following conditions might be an increase for severe illness from COVID-19: asthma, cerebrovascular disease, cystic fibrosis, hypertension or high blood pressure, immunocompromised state, weakened immune system from blood or bone marrow transplant, immune deficiencies, HIV, use of corticosteroids, or the use of immune and weakening medicines. Neurologic conditions such as dementia, liver disease, pregnancy, pulmonary fibrosis, thalassemia, and type 1 diabetes. If you're over 65 years or older and suffer from any of the above conditions, you're strongly urged to consider staying at home until it is safe for you to return to camp properties. Camp Cronquo and building modifications. Changes include signage, hand sanitizer stands, wipes, removal of furniture, locked buildings in prohibited areas, or designed for hygiene and to limit the number of people in buildings. Signage will be posted inside and outside of the building entries with directions on how to enter and exit the building. Face coverings are to be worn at all times while in or around any building unless you are actually eating or drinking and are maintaining requisite of 6 feet. No fans will be used in common areas with the exception of ceiling fans per the state checklist. The dining hall will be entered from designated side entrances and exits through designated exits. The doors will have appropriate signage. 6-foot social distancing will be practiced at all times. Spacing markers will be placed to remind campers of the required 6 feet. Hand washing stations and sanitizer protocols will be in place upon entering the dining hall. Admittance into the dining hall will be limited to a maximum of, it says here 40 people, but that isn't correct. It's 72 people can eat. And 6-foot spacing of all campers and staff members will be observed. Campers will eat with their designated tracks at designated times for their tracks. Staff and adult leaders will eat in designated areas. Leaders may eat with their scouts in their tracks, but there will also be designated meal times for adult leaders and non-program staff or non-essential program staff as well that are lined out in another part of the camp stuff in the training. We will avoid large gatherings in front of the dining hall and use social distancing while waiting in line for temperature checks and receiving food. Social distancing indicators shall be placed every 6 feet. Participants and staff will eat in shifts to allow social distancing in the eating area, reducing the number of people under the roof at all times. We will follow state, local, and CDC guidelines. This includes staff, participants, and cooks, cook team, dishwashers, etc. All meals will be served cafeteria style by certified staff with no self-serve buffet areas. Food will be prepared in the dining hall and served cafeteria style by the cook team from behind the steam table. Food will be prepared in the dining hall and served in a dining hall and prepared to go clamshells, or food will be prepared in the dining hall and served in the campsites and prepared to go clamshells. Sealed disposable flatware along with plates and cups will be used when all possible. This will include napkins, salt and pepper packets. Tables, chairs will be disinfected between shifts and after each meal by campers, leaders, and staff. 6-foot spacing will be enforced at all queuing lines into the dining hall and fountain drink stations. No self-serve stations will be allowed, such as salad bar, peanut butter and jelly bar, dessert bar, or leftover bar. Condiments will come pre-packed, i.e. knife, fork, spoon, salt, pepper, napkin packets, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, hot sauce packets. No food will be returned to the dining hall. All food not consumed will be disposed of. Lunch meals will be served in a sack lunch style and delivered to program areas. That's changed as well. The due to logistical issues with the staff, with kitchen staff and so forth, there will be a normal chow time at the chow hall time, and this will be corrected by the time we get to camp. I apologize for that inconsistency there, and also the 40 thing on there. Those will be corrected. Camp Cronquist bathhouses are equipped with soap dispensers, paper towels, and signage reinforcing the hand washing requirement to prevent the spread of COVID-19. All bathhouses are single-user facilities and will be cleaned throughout the day according to the cleaning schedule, which will be assigned to specific units or tracks at the beginning of camp. Sanitation will be performed by the staff. Units of tracks will be assigned specific bathhouses for the duration of camp. The Camp Cronquist trading posts enter and exit only through the doors as indicated on the signage. Observe social distancing requirements. Admittance and trading posts will be limited to 2 patrons at one time, and 6-foot spacing will be observed. Mask will be worn at all time. And actually, that's been changed as well. The will be given to more like a drive-through style for the trading posts. So there'll be no need for a scout to actually go into the trading post. The Leaders Lodge, enter and exit only through the doors indicated on the signage. Masks shall be worn at all times. Observe social distancing requirements. Admittance into the Leaders Lodge will be limited to 25% of capacity, and 6-foot spacing will be observed. Under the pavilion, masks shall be worn at all times and social distancing practiced at all times. And in the kitchen, masks shall be worn at all times and social distancing practiced at all times. Scout safety from the inclement weather takes priority over COVID-19 protocols until the inclement weather has passed and the all clear has been given. Therefore, COVID-19 building maximum capacity is temporarily stopped, as well as a 6-foot separation. General operations is going to be, everyone will be instructed to maintain at least 6 feet of separation as much as possible. Face coverings must be worn when social distancing cannot be achieved outside in all times except for meals inside. Leaders will do a health assessment each morning before their unit goes to the dining hall and will report any issues to a camp staff member as the unit approaches the dining hall and before entering. Class activity size have been reduced in size to best serve the safety of all campers and staff to match the requirements and the program area. Each participant will be encouraged to bring their own camp chair. That will be in the leader's guide. Scouts are required to bring their own water bottle and will require all participants to only use their own water bottle at camp. Adults are expected to bring their own water bottles. Individual names will need to be put on all the water bottles by participants and staff. It's a good idea to bring a second water bottle in case one is lost or damaged. All community and reusable program equipment will be sanitized after each use by staff. Shooting sports, this applies the same for all of them. Each scout on the firing line will be given disinfectant wipe to wipe down each bow, an arrow, a rifle, black powder rifle, anything. All we have is rifles at camp this year and tomahawks that they'll be wiped down. Each ammo block, safety glass, hand protection, shooting stand, everything will be wiped down and sanitized in between each scout. Volunteers from attending adults will be asked to serve as camp sanitation personnel. This group of volunteers will be provided detailed instructions, equipment, and materials to clean and sanitize all parts of camp, including bathhouses and shared areas. The EPA guidelines for cleaning and disinfecting will be followed. Those guidelines are adopted in this protocol right there, and those will be printed. That way you can print them with this book if you need to print them for your own. All of this information will be printed out in a COVID-19 binder that will be at the Leaders Lodge, available for anybody to look at. The camp commissioners will maintain a duty roster of the camp sanitation personnel and hand out assignments to specific parts of camp. For events during long-term camp, the event coordinator will designate teams of at least 2 persons per building to clean and sanitize those buildings at least twice a day. In the case of the dining hall, a team of at least 5 people will be designated to perform cleaning, wipe down, and sanitation after every meal. All trash will be placed in plastic can liners for transport to the dumpster in every meal. If a camper staff presents with COVID-19 symptoms, anyone experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and or having abnormal screening, temperature check, and or oximeter reading shall be placed in temporary quarantine at camp until the issue is resolved. Recheck for normal signs removed from camp. In addition, anyone leaving camp for any reason shall have to complete a pre-screening self-assessment tool and temperature check as well as oximeter reading prior to being allowed to return to normal camp activities. Subjects will be quarantined in the bunk instead the medic lodge and removed from camp. Pre-camp inspection for long-term camps. Each year, a national camp assessment team for long-term camps and challenge climbing courses and associated camp properties will visit the camp property or camp to assess whether it qualifies for accreditation. If the camp assessment team finds that the camp property or camp complies with the standards and authorization to operate and is appropriately implementing a continuous camp improvement plan, it will confirm the camp property or camp's accredited status. If there are issues, the team will work with the council to address them and implement appropriate measures for correction. Bay Area Council annually complies with the national standards. The Bay Area Council Risk Management Committee will perform an inspection of the facilities and health and safety protocol before the start of camp. Some of the resources used in this book here are Center for Disease Control, Environmental Protection Agency, Government Strike Force through Open Texas, Occupational Health and Administration, and Texas Department of State Health Services. These are some of the forms that need to be used. Model pre-event medical screening list. We'll use this to screen everybody. And this gives you a path to they must stay home or go home. And here's the daily screening log that'll be filled out for everybody each day. All right. That concludes the COVID policies. Again, I apologize for any of the minor errors that are in there that have not been updated due to some changes that things have happened. That guide will be 100% up to date prior to the start of camp. And anything that drastically changes in that guideline will be sent out to all of the staff members so that you're aware of it. We encourage you to get to know that policy. It'll be emailed out to all the staff once it's finalized. And we're able to make a couple of those small corrections. It'll be emailed out to all the staff for your review, for you to get to know about. And like I said, if you need to rewatch this video as well, to make sure that everybody's in compliance. It's very, very important that we meet all these standards and comply with all the rules and guidelines to ensure that our scouts have a safe and awesome camp, and that nobody gets sick doing it. We want to go to camp, enjoy camp, and leave camp, and have no COVID-related issues, period, coming out of Bay Area Council Fall Camp. And then we can do that if we stay on top of keeping everybody clean, keeping good hygiene, keeping our areas clean, and just following the procedures, and we will be safe. We'll see you in the next course.